He smiled while she cried. That was the moment I stopped breathing. My name is Rachel Monroe. And from wherever you're watching this, tell me in comments. Have you ever realized too late that your silence might have let a monster stay close? I remember the carpet under my knees. I was tying her shoes. My little niece, Brielle, 6 years old, soft curls, bunny socks. We were running late for church and she just whispered it so softly I almost missed it. Please don't make me go back to Uncle Brad's room, he gets angry when I say no. I froze. I looked up thinking I misheard her. But her eyes. Kids don't lie with their eyes. I stood up so fast I knocked over her cereal bowl. Milk everywhere. Brad came out from the hallway with his usual lazy smirk and said, "What's all the drama now?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. That same stupid Ohio State hoodie. That same fake sleepy laugh. And suddenly I remembered how he always volunteered to tuck her in when she stayed over. How she started stuttering last fall. How she hated pink now, her favorite color before she turned 6. I said, "Brielle's not staying with you tonight." He blinked. What? My sister Lauren, Brielle's mom, came in just in time to hear me say it again. She's not staying. Period. And Lauren laughed. Rachel, you've always been dramatic. She's a kid. They say weird things. She's craving attention. Brielle just shrank behind my leg like a shadow hiding from fire. I left with her. Took her to my place. She didn't say a word the entire ride. That night after I tucked her in, I found her little drawing book behind my couch cushion. I almost didn't look. Thought it was just scribbles. But page 7. A man with no face. A red crayon mouth in a crooked grin. A little girl with no clothes crying next to a bed. The word sorry scratched over and over and over until it tore through the paper. I locked my door. Twice. Then dialed 911 with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The line rang once. Then twice. And I knew. This wasn't going to be a rescue. It was going to be war. The officer on the phone asked me to repeat what I saw. My voice cracked halfway through describing the drawing. I could hear him typing. Cold, methodical, distant. Like I was reporting a missing dog, not a shattered child. "Ma'am, has the child made a direct allegation?" "She's 6, I snapped. She said he gets angry when she says no." "What else do you need?" Pause. "We'll send someone out in the morning. Keep her with you." Morning. Brielle was asleep in my bed, curled up so small she barely took up half the space. She sucked her thumb again. She hadn't done that since she was 4. I stayed up all night, sitting on the floor, holding her drawing pad like it was a confession written in blood. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. When the sun broke, I made coffee and stared out the window like it owed me answers. The police came just after 8. They were polite. Too polite. 2 men, both white, maybe mid-40s. Clipboard. "No urgency." "She's not talking," one of them shrugged after 10 minutes of questioning Brielle gently on the couch. I stepped in. "What about the drawing?" The younger one flipped to page 7, eyebrows raised. "It's disturbing but not enough to make an arrest. Kids draw things they don't understand all the time." "No," I whispered. "She understands too much." They left with a report. No charges. No warning. No nothing. And 2 hours later, Lauren showed up at my door with fury in her eyes and that same lazy smirk behind her. "Brad. You called the cops?" she hissed. "Are you serious, Rachel?" Brielle heard her voice and bolted to my side like a magnet pulling metal. Brad raised his hands. "Look, this is crazy. I love that little girl like she's mine. I didn't even let them in." "You're not taking her," I said flatly. Lauren glared at me like I'd stabbed her. "She's my daughter." I looked at her, really looked, and saw a woman so terrified of losing her man she was willing to throw her daughter into the fire. "She's my blood too," I said, heart steady, fists clenched. "And she's not going back until I know she's safe." Then I closed the door in their faces. But deep down I knew. They wouldn't go quietly. It started with the phone calls. Lauren. My mother. Even Aunt Patrice from Florida, who hadn't visited in 5 years. "Rachel, you're blowing this out of proportion. Brad would never do that. She's just acting out because her daddy left." Funny how fast the world circles its wagons around a man when a little girl whispers truth. I kept Brielle with me. Changed her school. Told my boss I'd be working remote indefinitely. Every night I checked the locks. Every morning I watched her eyes for signs of peace. But peace doesn't come easy when the devil still walks free. One night I found her sobbing in the closet, clutching a pillow, whispering, "Don't tell him I said anything. He said he'd hurt mommy if I told." That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just abuse. It was blackmail. He'd wrapped his sickness in fear, feeding her silence with threats. I recorded her. Quietly. Softly. "Sweetheart," I said, kneeling beside her, "you're safe. He can't hurt you here. But we need to be brave together. Okay?" Her voice trembled like glass on the edge of a shelf. "He said, if I told he'd kill my puppy. The one mommy said ran away." My heart cracked wide open. They never had a puppy. But Brielle had drawn one on page 3, blue collar heart tag. Crossed out. I showed the recording to a friend of mine, Candace, who worked at a local nonprofit for abused kids. Her face turned to stone. "Don't go back to the cops," she said. "Go to Child Protective Services. And get her into therapy." Yesterday. So I did. Every step. Every form. Every hour. CPS sent someone out finally. A woman this time. Late 30s, brown locks, calm eyes. He saw the drawings. Listened to the recording. Watched Brielle hide behind me when Brad's name came up. She nodded once and said, "We'll open a case file." Then came the kicker. "She'll be staying with you for now. But just know, the mother still has custody. If she challenges it, things get complicated." I looked at Brielle, curled up on my couch again, hugging a stuffed bear I bought her from Target. Complicated? No. Not complicated. Crystal clear. I wasn't just her aunt anymore. I was her shield. Lauren filed for custody 2 weeks later. The papers came in a manila envelope, tossed carelessly on my doorstep like junk mail. I stared at the line. Petitioner requests the child be returned to her biological mother immediately. No mention of trauma. No mention of Brad. Just legal words stacked like a wall meant to keep the truth out. I called my lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Denise Morales who'd once helped a domestic abuse survivor win full custody after 5 months in court. She read the petition and sighed. "They're trying to paint you as unstable, overprotective, delusional." I laughed. Dry. Bitter. Good. Let them. I'd rather be called crazy than be quiet. She filed a response within 48 hours. Meanwhile, Brielle started opening up, slowly like spring after a brutal winter. In therapy she drew more. Spoke more. She said he locked the door, the therapist whispered to me one afternoon. Multiple times. And told her it was a secret game. My knees buckled. I wanted to drive to his house and light it on fire. Instead, I sent the therapist's affidavit straight to Denise. We thought that would be enough. But the court scheduled a mediation hearing, not a trial. Brad showed up in a gray suit like he was going to brunch. Lauren came in clinging to his arm like he was oxygen. Me. I walked in alone. No makeup. No smile. Just a folder of drawings, recordings, and one child's broken innocence. The mediator was kind. Too kind. "I'm here to find common ground," she said sweetly. "There is no ground," I said. "There's a child. And there's a man who doesn't deserve to breathe near her." Brad smiled at me like he already won. Lauren wouldn't look at me. But it was Brielle's words, from the recorded therapy session, that made the room go still. I said no. He got mad. Then he said he'd hurt mommy if I didn't play. The mediator stopped writing. Brad shifted in his seat. A twitch. "And Denise?" She leaned in slow and said, "We'll see you in court." We walked out without a deal. No signatures. No compromise. And when I glanced back one last time, Brad's smirk was gone. The trial was set for late October. It felt like preparing for war with paper swords. The legal system? It doesn't protect girls like Brielle. Not when the monster wears a clean shirt and speaks in measured tones. But we had something more dangerous than evidence. We had truth. I spent nights combing through everything. Old texts, emails, photos. Lauren once joked about Brad being bad with boundaries around kids. I found the message. Dated. I printed it. Denise prepped me for court like I was stepping into a lion's den. "Stay calm," she said. "Let their lies hang themselves." The courtroom was small. Fluorescent lights. Faded flags. But the air? Thick with something rancid, like everyone knew this wasn't about custody anymore. This was a reckoning. Brad's lawyer went first. polished, smiling, called me overzealous and emotionally unstable. Said I was poisoning the child's mind with false memories. He even read out a text I sent to Lauren. If you send her back there, you're no better than him. Then he looked at the judge and said, my client is being defamed without proof. That's when Denise stood. Your Honor, I'd like to submit video evidence of a therapy session. The child describes inappropriate touching, threats, and explicit games. Brad's face stiffened. But it was Lauren who broke. Her hand flew to her mouth. The court played the video. Brielle's voice, small and raw, filled the room. He said, it's our secret. That mommy wouldn't believe me anyway. He said I was his special girl. The silence afterward was deafening. The judge paused. Then asked Lauren, did your daughter ever mention any of this to you? Lauren stammered. She lies sometimes. She's dramatic. Wrong answer. I stood. Took a breath. Your Honor, I said quietly. I found the drawing behind my couch. I called the police. I've been with her every night since. I didn't coach her. I believed her. That's all. The judge didn't say much. But his eyes. They saw everything. He called for recess. Said he'd issue a ruling in a week. As we stepped outside, Lauren ran after me. Why are you doing this? She cried. He loves me. He's good to me. I turned to her. Come, told. You traded your daughter's safety for your man's touch. You don't deserve either. Then I walked away. I didn't look back. The ruling came on a rainy Thursday. I was sitting with Brielle on the couch, braiding her hair while she drew butterflies on the back of a cereal box. He hummed a little song, soft, fragile. The knock came like thunder. I opened the door and there was Denise, soaked through but grinning like a wolf. She's yours, she said. Just like that. Temporary custody pending a full trial. Brad was barred from any contact. And Lauren? She was ordered into parenting classes and psychological evaluation. I dropped the brush. Fell to my knees. Brielle looked up, confused. Auntie Ray? Why were you crying? I pulled her into my arms and whispered, because someone finally believed you, baby. But the war wasn't over. That night a car drove by my house slow. Too slow. Next morning my tires were slashed. Denise filed for a protective order. The judge granted it, said any contact from Brad would be a criminal offense. But still, fear lingered. It clung to the corners of our lives like mildew. Then came the call from CPS. We received an anonymous tip, the woman said, claiming you're emotionally manipulating the child for custody. I nearly dropped the phone. Brielle was in the kitchen pouring herself cereal. I stared at her, this tiny girl who still flinched when the doorbell rang, who slept with the lights on. They're trying to flip the narrative, I told Denise. She nodded. Classic playbook. Weaponize the system. Make you the villain. We doubled down. I took Brielle to a trauma specialist, a child psychologist, even a pediatric neurologist, to prove she wasn't hallucinating like Brad's new defense claimed. Each one wrote a letter. Each one said the same thing. This child has been through something. Something real. Something damaging. And she is recovering in the care of her aunt. Meanwhile, I set cameras around the house. Kept the lights on all night. I started sleeping with my bedroom door locked. Then one evening as I was folding laundry, I found something wedged in Brielle's sock drawer. A Polaroid. Of her. In my house. I hadn't taken it. I stared at the photo, my hands trembling, bile rising in my throat. He had been here. Watching. Marking her again like a trophy. And that was when something inside me finally snapped. I wasn't just fighting for custody anymore. I was fighting for her life. I didn't call the cops. Not yet. Because cops? They file reports. I needed results. I drove straight to Brad's work, a construction supply warehouse on the edge of town. Parked my car across the street and watched. He came out at 5:17 p.m. Alone. No Lauren. Just him fiddling with his keys, whistling. Like he hadn't shattered a child's world. I followed him. No plan. No weapon. Just rage tucked into my chest like a live grenade. He stopped at a bar. Usual spot. I waited in the lot, engine running, fists clenched. Then I remembered something Denise once told me. The best revenge isn't rage. It's exposure. So I drove home. And I did what I should have done months ago. I opened Brielle's old drawings. The ones from before I ever suspected anything. There were patterns. Repeated symbols. A strange shape in the corner of each one. A door with a red dot and something that looked like a camera. I stared at them for an hour. Then I searched his house on Google Maps. Street view. Satellite. Zoomed in on the backyard. There it was. A shed. Gray. Tin roof. Barely visible behind the fence line. I called Detective Harlan, the only cop who ever listened without blinking when I told him about the drawings. I think there's more, I said. I think he filmed her. That night, police got a warrant. They found a hidden camera. Tapes. A laptop with folders, labeled with dates. My stomach turned. My vision blurred. But the DA? He finally had everything he needed. Brad was arrested that night. Charged with multiple counts of possession, exploitation, and aggravated assault on a minor. Lauren tried to visit him in jail. He refused. Said she was a liability. He called me crying. He used me. I said nothing. Because that's the thing about enablers. They always want sympathy after the damage is done. But I had none left to give. I was too busy helping Brielle pack for our move. A new apartment. Different school district. Fresh start. That night she handed me her latest drawing. A house with flowers, a big sun, and 2 stick figures holding hands. I asked, "Is that me and you?" She shook her head, smiling. "No. That's me, and the me I get to be now." And just like that, the fire inside me turned to light. 3 months later, the verdict came down. Brad was found guilty on all charges. 25 years. No parole. The courtroom was silent as the judge read the sentence. But I swear I heard it, a small exhale beside me. Brielle. Sitting in her little denim dress, legs swinging. Her tiny hand gripped mine like an anchor. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. "Do you have a statement?" I looked straight into the camera. My voice low. Controlled. "Yes. Believe her. Always." We didn't go home after that. We went somewhere new, the coast where the air didn't carry memory like dust. I found work at a youth shelter. Quiet place. No headlines. Just healing. Brielle started ballet. Every Tuesday and Thursday she ran into that studio like the world owed her nothing but joy. She laughed now. Real laugh. The kind that lives in the chest and bubbles up without fear. Sometimes she still had bad dreams. Woke up crying. But now she'd crawl into my bed and whisper, "Can I stay here?" And I'd say, "Always." She lost custody permanently. Tried to sue for visitation. The judge denied it, cited negligence and emotional harm. Last I heard she moved to Reno. Alone. She never said sorry. But I didn't need her apology. Because the only thing I ever wanted was for Brielle to sleep safely through the night. And she does now. With her stuffed tiger. Her lavender nightlight. Her door closed but unlocked. One evening I asked her if she still drew. She nodded and ran to her backpack. Pulled out a notebook. No monsters. Just gardens. Skies. Stars. One had the words. "I am safe. I am real. I am free." I stared at it for a long time. Because I knew that page cost her more than I could ever repay. But she gave it to me like a gift. And I held it like scripture. Some stories don't get happy endings. But some get justice. And sometimes, that's even better.